She thought it was just another cleaning day. Oil, cotton, silence. Then a shadowed sniper asked, "Can you reach 3,827 meters? One shot, 4 seconds of flight." A past she buried on a dusty road catching up. "Don't blink. The clock is already broken." Elizabeth cleaned in circles. Tiny patient circles. The weapon lay open like a patient on a table. The bolt in her palm. The spring on blue cloth. The room smelled of solvent and old metal. The clock on the far wall had stopped. She didn't need it anyway. She carried time on her wrist. The watch was cracked, glass like a spider web. It had belonged to her mother. It kept poor time when it kept time at all. It ticked when it wanted. It froze when it didn't. She wore it for the weight, for the promise that time can break and still be felt. A shadow crossed her bench. Boots not soft. The door had not been loud. The man wore the tan and the tired of people who slept at odd hours and never fully. His patch was simple. No unit named. No name shown. He looked at the rifle. Then at the watch. "You keep that for luck?" he asked. "It's late even when it's early," she said. He pointed at the barrel. "You keep that for work?" "For work," she said. He didn't sit. He looked beyond her. At the paper targets pinned to the far wall. At the wind chart on a clipboard. At the cardboard box with her handwritten note. "Dope cards, high angles, cold bore," he said. "Can you reach 3,927 meters?" She didn't blink. She thought about the empty wallet in her locker. The years of small wages traded for glass and steel and trips to places without names. She thought of the dusty road outside the wire that went nowhere and still took everything. "Depends," she said. "On the air. On the angle." "On why?" "Weather window in 40 hours," he said. "Altitude." "Cross Valley shot." "You'll need to ride the transonic. You'll need to think about the planet turning beneath the bullet." He paused. "You'll need to care." He set a case on her bench. It clicked open. Custom stock. Long, narrow bolt face. Heavy contour barrel. A scope that looked like it could read a page at the bottom of a well. "Your name?" she asked. "Call me Hale." He tapped the case. "We call this one temper. It forgives nothing." She ran a finger along the rail. The finish was matte. The edges honest. The bipod legs had scratches in the right places. She liked that. She trusted use more than shine. He slid a map under her hand. Elevation rings like ribs, a valley drawn in spare ink. A compound on the far side small as a tooth. "Wind," she said. "Stubborn," he said. "Morning gives a mercy." She checked the watch. The second hand had stopped under the 9. She shook her wrist. It started, then stuttered, then stopped again. "What's the target?" she asked. "Movement," he said. "The kind that breaks convoys and keeps radios busy with names. And if I miss?" He looked at her broken watch again. "Time keeps going," he said. "For them." She closed Temper's case and felt its weight. She thought about the dusty road again. About boots that leave prints and boots that do not. She thought about the wallet, empty but honest. The life she had chosen like a vow. "Show me the approach," she said. He traced the ridgeline. Insertion at night. 8 clicks on foot. "You and a spotter." "My spotter," she said. "Yours," he said. "If he can keep up." She wiped her hands clean. She set her own rifle aside. The one with scratches that told stories she didn't repeat. She lifted Temper like a new promise. Hale watched her shoulders adjust to the balance. Not approval, calculation. He said, "You'll have one window. If the weather lies, the valley will tell the truth. And the truth will kill you," she nodded. "Good." He pointed at her watch. "Set that," he said. "It doesn't set," she said. "Then set yourself." She looked at the map again. She measured space with her eyes. She felt the math line up behind her ribs. She breathed once deep. "Solvent and dust," Hale said. "You in?" She said yes. The lights flickered. The long whine of a base alarm rose thin and mean. A voice on the PA said one word she didn't like hearing this early. "Contact." And Hale said almost kindly, "Then prove it. Tonight." Elizabeth opened the locker. The wallet sat like a quiet joke. It had a photo tucked behind clear plastic. 2 hands, no faces. Sand on the knuckles. The leather had faded to the color of drought. No bills, 1 bent card. It wasn't poverty. It was simplicity. You can't lose what you don't carry. She slid the photo out. Back in, closed the wallet. Put it in her pocket. A reminder that value is not paper. Temper lay on the bench like an unfinished sentence. She stripped it. She measured the torque on the rail. She checked the bedding screws. She cleaned the bore with patches that came out honest and then clean. The bolt lugs wore even kisses of grease. The crown was a mirror she didn't look into. Ammo came in a sealed can, match grade, same lot. She weighed 5 at random, within a heartbeat of each other. Good. She still wrote the weights in a notebook. Pen ink, not pixels. Things that smear, and because they smear matter. Her spotter arrived without knocking. Naveed. Tall, thin, eyes that counted mirage, a scarf at his neck that had seen more seasons than any of them. No unit patch, the kind of quiet you lean on. You got the call, he said. You got the lungs? She said. He half smiled. I carry air in my pockets, she pointed at the map. He read it like a prayer rug. Wind tricks, he said, tapping a cut in the ridge. It will lie here. It will turn here. It will stop here and then laugh. Morning favors, she said. Sometimes, he said. Sometimes morning keeps its favors. Hail appeared again. He carried a weather brief and a silence. He set both down. Window tightened, he said. The valley gets restless. You step off at midnight. Elizabeth ran her thumb along the scope turrets. She liked the click. She wrote on a card, elevation, spin drift, coriolis at latitude, temp at dawn, density alt. She drew a small broken circle in the corner. The watch translated to ink. They moved to the range in the last light. No faces, just silhouettes and breath. She did not shoot far. She shot close. She confirmed 0. She burned one clean cold bore round and watched the paper not out of habit but respect. Temper gave her a small hole where she asked for one. Good. Naveed set the spotting glass. He watched the berm dust lift and settle. He watched heat lie in bands. You'll have a river of air, he said. 2 currents at least. Mid-Valley will be a thief, she nodded. We'll count it. We'll pay it. The alarm from earlier had gone quiet. The base turned into a village that pretended it was calm. In the chow line, she reached for her wallet. She put it back. She ate anyway. She drank water. She said little. Back in the armory, a private held out a cloth. For luck, the kid said. It's clean. I need it dirty, Elizabeth said, and saw the private try to understand. Thank you, she added, and took it. Kindness is a sighting tool you don't talk about. Midnight walked in without a sound. They kitted up. No bright things, no rattles. Hale checked their radios. Naveed packed batteries like seeds. Elizabeth slid the broken watch up her wrist bone. It hurt a little. Pain is a metronome. They crossed the wire onto the dusty road. The dust took their prints and returned nothing. The moon hid behind a shawl of cloud. The stars looked away. They moved like water downhill even when the earth went up. At the river crossing, the stones were slick and the cold bit the ankles. Naveed breathed like nothing special was happening. Elizabeth measured each step. She thought about the bullet she would send into the air that had just bitten her. She thought about how air holds everything and owes no one. They climbed. Rocks gave and held, gave and held. She could feel the rifle through the sling like a pulse. She could feel the watch grind faintly when her wrist bent. Halfway up, they stopped under a black lip of stone. Naveed raised one finger. He listened with his mouth closed. The night had a seam. He found it, he whispered. Upslope 2 men. Light feet. Not patrol. Hunters? She asked. He did not say yes. He did not have to. Elizabeth opened the wallet and took out the photo. She looked at the 2 hands. She slid it into her phone case. She placed the empty wallet under a small rock. A marker for a path they might have to run back down. A promise they would pass here again. Naveed tapped her arm twice. The night exhaled grit. Motion above. A pebble slid. A breath too quick. Elizabeth raised a finger now. She pointed to the right. Alternate path, steeper, safer for being worse. They climbed. The valley opened below like a mouth that could not close. The wind carried a taste of iron and old fire. They reached the shelf. The shooting position lay 20 meters ahead. A nest cut into broken rock, a place someone had used before. She had not expected that. Naveed froze. He pointed once. A cartridge lay on the dirt, polished, placed, not dropped. It was the caliber she carried. Elizabeth felt the math go cold, then hot. Not patrol, not hunters. A mirror in the nest caught the thinnest breath of starlight and sent a weak pulse into night. A decoy. Or a lure. Naveed's voice was a thread. We are not alone. Something shifted above them, soft as a thought. Then glass cracked somewhere in the dark. The sound was small. A tick chip in stone. Elizabeth didn't duck. Ducks get counted. She slid, a patient, precise slide into a crease of rock. Naveed melted the other way, a pour instead of a move. A second chip came lower. Whoever watched them was testing elevation. Underholding, then walking. She held her breath and felt the watch press bone. If time wanted to be counted, it could count now. Naveed set the spotting glass without looking through it. He faced away and used the lens like a fish's eye. He saw the star smear change where heat lifted. High left, he mouthed. Elizabeth studied the ground between them and the false nest. She saw the mirror. She saw the cartridge. She saw a thin wire tied to the mirror's edge, snaking back into a seam. A trip, a whisperer. One tug, a flash, and an answer from above. The valley below breathed a slow wind uphill. In a few hours it would turn. The road, dusty even in the dark, drew a pale line from compound to nothing. It would wake soon with trucks or boots, she wasn't sure which. She eased temper forward until the muzzle kissed shadow. She unpacked the rear bag. She had left it on purpose. Weight saves you until it doesn't. She made one from her scarf and a handful of grit. She lifted the bolt, lowered it, let steel say hush to steel. Naveed tapped her boot twice. He held up 3 fingers, then 2, then splayed his hand wide. Distances in code, not the target. The other Elizabeth dialed not for a kill, but for a question. She picked a rock the size of a helmet near the far ridge. She calculated drift and drop in her head, then again with a doubt, then a third time with a promise. She let the reticle float, then settle, then want. She exhaled until her ribs became furniture. The trigger broke like a word you don't say twice. The round struck stone with a dry cough. Not where a head would be. Close enough to ask, "Are you there?" Silence answered with its grin. Then the grin cracked. A muzzle flash, tiny as a match head, winked from the high left cut. The sound came late, the chip in stone tight to her cheek. She smiled without joy. Hunters. And careful. Hale's voice arrived in her ear like a second weather. "Status. Eyes on us," she said. "High-cut patient setting for us." "You disengage," he said. "Objective holds." "Negative," she said. "Can't leave a spider where you plan to sleep." She pointed with her chin. Naveed's eyes said what his mouth didn't. If they tangle now, they miss the window. If they don't tangle now, the tangle eats them when the morning turns thin. Elizabeth reached into her pocket. Not for ammo. For the watch. She slid its cracked face under a tiny drip of starlight and watched it for mirage. The glass gave a wobble. The second hand, stuck, still caught light and made a weak flag. Enough to see the air bend. She set a dope for a rock 6 meters left of the flash. She punched another question. Stone spit. The answer came back sharper. The counter-snipe had a temper. Good. Anger makes math sloppy. Naveed lowered his face to the dust. He breathed on a patch of grit and watched the fog run. "Cross at mid. Dead air near them," he whispered. Elizabeth nodded. She made the hold ugly on purpose. The shot went before the thought finished. It struck not the rock. It kissed the wire tied to the mirror. The little flash popped, dumb and bright. A third shot came at them, rushed too fast. The chip sang higher above. "Sloppy now." "Move," she said. They flowed backwards through the rocks, patient like water but not slow. The dusty road beyond the shelf shone faintly. She didn't want it. It was a ruler you could die on. They cut a goat track instead. The slope gave, then held. The night watched. The mirror behind them kept flashing on the wire's memory, stupid little sun. A minute, 5:10. They found a second shelf. No carved nest. No signs of hands. Elizabeth liked it better. Clean ground tells the truth. She built a position out of elbows and stone. Naveed built sightlines out of absence. The ridge opposite wore shadows like blindfolds. The cut where the flash had been looked empty. That was the point. She aimed not at the hole but at the air between holes. She held for the planet turning. Felt silly for thinking that, held anyway. The trigger was a sentence that ended itself. The flash that followed was not a muzzle. It was glass. A scope's objective lens took a stranger's round and became dust. Someone in that cut swore in a language that keeps its swear words close. A hand rose, reflex and pain. A head followed. The head went away. She did not pull. Not yet. Hale spoke again. "That was you?" "That was their eye," she said. "You still have yours?" "For now." "You're burning your window." She checked the watch. Still dead. She checked the sky. A paler seam on the edge. Morning made a threat. Naveed found her sleeve. "They will leave," he said. "Or they will charge stupid. Both are clumsy. Both are loud. And the objective? She asked. Wakes with T, he said. T and gates. In the cut, a figure low crawled wrong. Not like a body that learns, like a body that hurts. Elizabeth sent a kindness. Around a meter short. A warning to stay down and think about breakfast instead. The figure took the hint. The ridge went quiet. The mirror on the first shelf flashed once more as the wire gave up and slumped. The valley's breath turned cool and honest. Morning had truly arrived. Hale exhaled into the net. Window opens. You can still choose clean ground. Elizabeth felt the empty wallet in her pocket by the weight of what it didn't have. She felt the dusty road under math she hadn't yet written. She felt the broken watch dig into skin it had already dented. She said, "We stay," and the compound below them lit one lamp. Then two. Then a door opened and a figure stepped into the square, and Naveed whispered a name she didn't expect to hear. She had never met him. She knew the silhouette. The stance of a man who believed doors greeted him. He wore no uniform. He wore a coat with shoulders too structured. He accepted a steaming cup from a hand that wasn't his. Naveed said the name again, softer, as if the air might tell on them. It was a name that had walked across other valleys and left ash. It wasn't the name she had been given on the brief. It was larger. It bent maps. Hale's voice shifted color. Confirm. Confirm by gate, Naveed said. By favoring of the left. By the way he tests the cup before he drinks. His voice had no music, only weight. Confirmed by the man he pushes aside to take the sun. Elizabeth adjusted the scope until the pores of a wall were towns. The man's face was an idea at this range. The angle gave her chin and ear the stubborn line between. She watched him test the morning with his breath. She watched him claim a step that wasn't his. She wrote new numbers on the card. Spindrift doesn't care about names. Gravity cares about no one. Air is democratic. Do we have authority? She asked. Silence. Radios carry silence better than words. Then Hale. Authority follows the wind. It is behind you now. She set elevation to a place that felt like a lie and knew it was truth. The valley between them shifted like a sleeping animal. Mirage smoothed. A thin flag on a roof barely moved. A chicken walked across a yard and shook its heat into the morning. Useful chicken, Naveed called air at 3 levels. Right to left down low, he said. Nothing in the middle. Left to right at ridge height. Call the middle. Pray the edges. She didn't pray. But she thought of hands from the photo. Sand on the knuckles. She thought of her mother's watch stopping under the 9 and refusing to budge. She thought about a dusty road that takes everyone to the same door in the end. On, she said. On, Naveed said. She pressed. The rifle cracked and settled. A horse that trusted its rider. She rode the sight picture through recoil and found the man where she had left him. She tracked the invisible line she had drawn across the valley and believed in it, because belief is sometimes just math with scars. 1, 2, 3, 4. A curtain snapped in a window. A child ran from one side of a courtyard to the other. The man turned his head for a voice behind him. Small movements, large at distance, impact. The teacup jumped. Porcelain missed. The man's shoulder folded, not his face. He staggered, not fell. The courtyard erupted with noise that took time to arrive. Low right, Naveed said. Calm. Not apology. Correction offered like water. Elizabeth had second-round stage-like thoughts you argue with. But she also had truth. Temper's barrel cooled slow. The valley changed even while it pretended not to. And from the high cut to their left, the rival spider woke again, angry and hurting. A round hissed and cracked on the stone above her. Chips fell like cold rain into her hair. Hale, you walk or you win. You cannot do both today. The man below was hustled toward a truck. Not a convoy, a scramble that lacked a plan. Good. They thought the shot came from close. They looked at the wrong ridges, the low ones. Elizabeth dialed nothing. She held everything. She shifted her body a thumb's width. She let temper nose down a hair. Wind flipped at mid, Naveed said. You felt it. I know you did, she did. She felt it on the watch glass earlier. And again now in the way the chicken's heat bent slightly the other way. She adjusted inside herself. A hold, not a spin. A change of mind, not of metal, she pressed again. The rival spider sent 3 angry sighs at their rock, too high, then less, then almost. Stone dusted her sleeve. Her second round went into the truck's front tire. Not the chest she didn't have. She had a valley and a moving idea. She took the wheel. The tire sagged and screamed. The truck bucked. men shouted. The man with the name fell to one knee and grabbed the truck bed for balance. Now, Naveed said. Elizabeth had one perfect round left from the measured lot. The rest were still good. But this one was the sibling of the first. The same powder's mood, the same copper's childhood. She chambered it and felt the bolt close like a decision. The rival spider found stone near her elbow, the chip-sliced fabric. Skin warmed, she exhaled. The valley narrowed. The dusty road below looked like a line she could pluck. The broken watch didn't tick. It didn't need to. She took the press halfway, stopped, took it the rest. The truck backfired or exploded, she couldn't tell which, just as she broke the shot.